Number 214 OnEBoard. This is tech topic. Today, I'm with Peggy and Bob. My name is Nina. OnEBoard, we are going to do an overview of our live streams from January till May. It's been a lot of material we covered, a lot of tips. Even Gemini couldn't do the summary with a simple prompt. I didn't want it to code or analyze too much because it's also nice that we can update some of the tips we gave have already new features. New updates. So thank you, Peggy and Bob, for doing this overview today. Thank you to everyone who's watching us. And let me start with, I share my screen. We have everything documented on our blog. And you see, we started the year with this interesting new feature that is a preferred source button. We also spoke about mid-speech translation. That was the first live stream in January that we visualized with a departing train in the middle of winter in January, immediately after the new year. So we started with a strong update power the year, and then Gemini Canvas Travel Planner. Later in March, we okay, so in March we had this demonstration of the speech translation. I spoke in Italian, and our colleague from Italy, Danilo, who is a Google product expert as well, was able to document so everyone could hear the voice and tone of the near real-time translation. Now the update is that users have this on mobile. So this feature is generally available on mobile as well. We had guests. We had Svetlana, with whom we covered AI ethics. We spoke about the Vatican guidelines. This is a very important conversation. I would urge everyone to check it. And we also had Priya, with whom we had very interesting scheduling tasks done live. She demonstrated, and we hope we can have again Priya with us, as well as Svetlana and Danilo, because the topics we cover keep evolving and improving. So we have news about the scheduling, news about the speech translation, and the AI ethics. At the end of today's talk, I will focus on the newsletter. During these live streams, I experimented with automating our newsletter. The automation failed, and today I'll show you the automation I chose for the month of May. And that's it. Amidst a lot of other interesting features Peggy is going to mention, and also Bob about Notebook, about Google Vids. Let me stop sharing.
Yeah. So I think what's really interesting that a lot of these new features that we talked about starting at the beginning of the year, they've actually been updated several times by Google since then. So this is really at the forefront of the features that Google is developing for its platforms, and even preferred sources you mentioned being one of the first tips we had this year. just this week, they announced that preferred sources will appear in the AI overviews and AI mode. So it's really making it worthwhile for news sites, blogs, so forth, to have the preferred source button so that people can set it as a preferred source and hopefully get more views instead of people just reading the summary in the AI overview. So that's interesting stuff. I wanted to mention specifically some updates that we had over the years so far about Google Vids. Now, Google Vids is Google's Workspace video editing platform. It started out pretty basic, pretty simple, but a couple of updates this year. There's a way to add animated captions. This is really useful if you have, for people to watch if they aren't going to listen to the audio. For people who might not have English as a first language, it's just a nice feature. And you can also create longer videos. And this is a huge update. Previously, the limit was 10 minutes. Now you can create videos up to 30 minutes, and you can import videos up to 95 minutes long to chop down into smaller clips. This is really, really useful. For example, for the recordings we have for these shows, you can import them into Google Vids and make smaller videos from that. So it is nice to see that Google Vids is getting some love. And of course, there's a bunch of generative AI tools as well. But the nice thing is Google has made it so that even if you don't have access to the latest generative AI tools, like for avatars, for example, it's still a really useful video editing platform.
Yeah, Google Vids, we started covering it from February. With these animated captions that helped a lot our announcements, because we are covering 3 tips, and it makes already more than our users want to read just one title. It's more.
I feel like there's so many features, it really makes sense to maybe focus just on one feature at a time. Otherwise, it gets kind of overwhelming. Yeah. And you can really see, some of the highlights. Some of the things, I don't have access to generating videos in Google Vids, for example, so I haven't actually tried that, but I know some other people do that as well.
As soon as we stop this live streaming, Google is prompting the video file to open in Google Vids. That's immediate.
Interesting.
Yes. So the thing is that since we are not having a scenario that is drafted in advance, I first need to learn your tips, because during the live, I get the idea, but I'm not 100% knowledgeable about your new tips. I just learned. So I'm cautious about clicking the button to automate the video creation immediately before I get to know what actually we talked about. So I go usually to Notebook, then it's a perfect learning tool to me to have the briefing, the summarize, some flashcards to get me to know the context. And then I'm relaxed and confident that I can continue with automation.
I'll also say that Google is pushing really hard in Google Slides to turn your slide presentation into a video in Google Vids, and it even has some new features where you can set the avatar to actually describe, the voiceover avatar. You can set it during this creation process. It really wants people to be creating more videos.
Yeah, everything is Omni. So we demonstrated how to format presentation into a video, even how to format our own meeting into a code and an application. So Any format is an omni experience, depending on the audience you wish to reach or the project you are in your workflow technically. So it's endless, like an opportunity for implementation. And the most interesting changes came with Notebook. Bob, could you mention our collaborative notebook? We started in February, and then you covered a lot from it during those months.
Well, I can tell you, folks, that, like Nina, you just said endless, and Peggy, you just said a huge amount of features. That all applies to Notebook LM. In fact, like Nina just hinted, that we did start in February talking about Notebook and using it as a collaborative tool. And obviously, when we're doing these podcasts, this is almost collaborative. It's us with you, the audience. And this is a perfect time to kind of slow down. If you're like us, you're getting in your pipeline, your digital pipeline, no matter where it's coming from. Google is almost introducing something new and different every freaking day. And it's hard to keep up with it. I can tell you that, as we do these podcasts, we're introducing new features. And in many cases, we introduce them, but we don't have time maybe to play with them as much as we want. But I can tell you, I've been using Notebook LM more now that trying to take like a deep breath, or a point where, I can say that, hey, let me really sharpen or polish my skills using this tool, because Notebook is just fantastic. For the products, it can create mind maps, flashcards, and not only for educating your viewers, but yourself too. This is very interesting. In fact, the latest thing that I tried out was the vertical slide decks. This is tremendous. I mean, if you want to tap into those folks that are just using they're using just their smartphone, you're creating product that fits right on that screen, which is, I think, is tremendous. So again, just doing a podcast like this, trying to review, we're only hitting the highlights in many cases, but I'm encouraging you to basically maybe slow down a little bit and find that favorite tool and really dig in and experiment a little, like we did with the collaboration way back in February. You might want to review that to see how it worked for us. In fact, we did it live where there was no practice at all. We just threw the noodles against the wall and saw what stuck, and we went from there. And I think that's really has a lot of a lot can be learned from just doing that. And we're really happy that as an audience that you're watching, because we're doing this not only for ourselves but for you too. Hopefully this will give you some shortcuts or some impetus to try something new and different. Notebook is the perfect tool to do so. In fact, it's integrated now with Gemini. They're basically synced. Gemini is the big search engine, the big muscles to go out and find information and sources. And then once the sources are found, you put it into Notebook. And the coolest part about Notebook, it only taps into the sources you provided. Therefore, these hallucinations, quote unquote, are really minimal, because you have already looked over the sources and made sure that, hey, these things are accurate, and the products that you're getting are going to be, you won't have to worry so much about, misspellings or really bad ideas. So hopefully give it a shot. And in fact, we'll be reporting more and more. I've been using Notebook to create illustrations, scientific illustrations. If you follow me on Blue Sky, you can see some of that as evidence, and I'll be doing more and more of that. Okay.
On YouTube as well, you're doing these vertical
YouTube
videos.
Also, yes, that's exactly. Thank you.
Bob Danley, optics on organisms. Yeah, and I was able to transform your slides by prompting it to adapt it to my environment. So we are, I don't know, we are like in two different planets so far away. I'm in Europe, near the Black Sea coast, where birds are on these migration paths. So I wanted to work on this, how to follow your slides where I am, and Notebook LM adapted them immediately. I just click and said, adapt this for my environment, and it did it in Bulgarian language for my nature preservation
That's great.
efforts. Yeah, that was fantastic. And I, from my part, I wanted to summarize that most of my tips for these months were focused on Google Meet. That is a magical place to be. It's already with a golden icon, which speaks for itself. So it's really very important and magical, because here you can have a content creation studio that is automated. And I cover speech translation, I already mentioned, but also continuous chat, and also the unified experience being in Google Meet, using it side by side with all the Google documents, slides, and Notebook LM as well, and Gemini and everything. It's all Gemini here inside.
I
So
I
yes,
think it's
Peggy,
really
and then I
kind
will
of,
show the newsletter. So, sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's really kind of exciting that Google has added these features to Meet that make it better as a communication tool.
Right.
I'm still a little skeptical of some of the Gemini, ask Gemini, get a summary right now. Sometimes it's good, sometimes, it's better than others. I think it works well when we have a nicely structured meeting, like a lot of our podcasts are pretty well structured.
Yeah.
I've been in some other meetings where it's more free form and it gets really confused, but I think it's really useful. And I think there'll be more updates the rest of the year. I think we're going to be seeing more Google Vids, more Notebook LM. We're going to be seeing updates on these tools ongoing, because obviously Google is investing in these platforms.
Yeah.
What we recently saw Peggy demonstrated is super impressive. Like she demonstrated her avatar, like in Hollywood, walking in a garden, talking. Well, it was mind blowing with her voice and tone, with her face and figure and everything.
So I think we're going to see that. Hopefully, I'm surprised that's not integrated in Google Vids yet. So I suspect that will eventually come. And YouTube is supposed to have it for the Shorts editor and for the YouTube Create app. It's just rolling out really slowly. And I kind of feel like this is more the future direction of a lot of these AI tools, more personal, more of the human touch, even if it's generated. So it's not just like some random avatar that you pick out. Instead, it's yourself, and you can put yourself in various situations. Much more personal that way.
Right.
Yeah, in the same line of thoughts, I'm going to share and show you how we are going to issue our May newsletter. So 1 second. We are going to use Google Docs. Google Docs has everything you need. It's like encyclopedia, and you can generate anything you wish there. So mostly you can live in Google Docs. Our newsletter will be created like that. Open the new document, go to the Gemini bar for the resources. It's directly connects with our transcripts, because we are doing this live stream in a Google Workspace environment. And then comes the prompt. You can make it very specific and long, and even include this nuance that Peggy talked about right now, prompting it to avoid any AI resemblance of automation when the style comes.
Mhm.
So it's prompted exactly to stick to match the conversational and creative-friendly tone we have in our live streams, and it's reflected in the transcripts. So we limit this generative prompt to serve our audience and newsletter exactly how we should to be within the frame of these transcripts, and also finish with a call to action. So we will attach feedback to the newsletter, and hopefully our readers will give us. But that's it. You open the document, it reads the transcripts and generates the May roundup. Exactly the way you wish it to have it. Since what I liked is that we can synthesize the key insights, not like chronological, but matching the context and the priority of what we shared. It could group them in a different way than we previously listed. I hope it will be interesting. I can't wait to work on the newsletter.
I think Nina, it's a perfect example. It's a best case or best use of AI to do those tedious tasks as you just laid out. And I mean, that's just tremendous, saver for time and effort on your part.
I not only this, I'm very happy that I dropped the automation with Google Workspace Studio. That was one of my tips. I presented and I advanced on it, but it returned a very wrong result. The text was really very automated looking. It was not our tone. It was like reading the technical literature at some developer exhibition. We don't want this. We are not talking like this here. So I was desperate and said, no, this automation will not work. But gladly, Google Docs has the tool we need, and it's so simple. We just need to be very mindful of the prompts.
Yeah.
How to.
So I think it's really interesting that, this is all sort of Gemini in the background, but depending on which Google tool you use, you may have different outcomes, and you just need to try different things until you find one that works the way you want.
Right. Yeah, you are so correct, Peggy. I think that the biggest struggle we have today is that there are so many tools. We don't know which one would do the best job for the specific tasks at hand. Hopefully we can focus on that going into the second half of the year.
Google takes care about it, Bob. Google takes care. It says you have some limitations. Work on them until 20th of June. Then they are gone. So,
the funny thing though is, I think that it's not a bad thing that different tools work slightly differently. The trick is Google could do better explaining what the differences are for different things. Because right now you just go and it's like, there's Studio and Docs and the Gemini app and here and Notebook LM, and Google does a really bad job of actually helping guide you to the tools that would work best for whatever project you're working on.
I think the templates, we use a lot of templates. This is a one step in being specific. And then Google, the conference I visited, Google Day and also Google I/O, there were a lot of examples and use cases from specific industries. So it's already specialized for some industries. I cannot use what is in wood processing because it's already very specialized. For example. Yes, we have a question.
So I just wanted to say hello to the folks in the live chat. I see Jan and Andrew there. And Andrew says you won't recognize Google by the time January 2027 gets here.
Right on, man.
True.
Right on. We should have him do a session on that.
Well, actually, the basics is if you look deeper to the basis is the same. For example, searching for information is the overview, but it's just the surface. If you're looking for some fast reference, if you need to read actually the essential information, you have to go to the site. So I know the hot topic is the traffic on sites, but still, if you are a professional and you have the up-to-date content on your site, it's relevant, it's helpful. It still works the same way, so it's interesting to the users, and they come to look at it, to research it, to talk about it. Bangaranga.
I think what's interesting too is what Google is recommending is add your personal experiences, your personal take on things on your website. So it's not just, you've all seen those sort of bland top 10 lists where they just kind of go to Amazon and find the top 10 products, or, it's like the same top 10 things everybody's talking about. Instead, they're saying, you can say, I use this, and this is my experience using it. And I kind of feel like we have that vibe when we give our tips. It's like, this is something we tried. Look, this is how we're seeing it. This is what it's working for us. So I hope we have a little edge that way.
If Gemini itself is giving me advice to include something against the automating sounding style, so we are already at the point that the human presence is much more valuable to the users.
I would add my own personal experiences as now that we're taking a pause and reflecting. I am, like I said before, I am concentrating on using Notebook LM almost exclusively, knowing that, hey, maybe it's not the best tool for everything, but at least that way I can find out what it really is good at and maybe what it's not so good at, instead of being overwhelmed by the amount of tools that are available at your disposal. You're I don't know, wasting is probably a strong term, but you're spending a lot of time playing with these new toys, and that time could be spent basically becoming more knowledgeable about one specific tool and how you can use it to your advantage. So I think that there's a bigger rate of return by doing so, instead of, now we know that Google is constantly changing things, that there's going to be a churn no matter what. Use a tool to its max to find out what its pluses and minuses are. I think you'll profit more instead of searching constantly for nirvana. It may never exist. Who knows?
Yeah, I have to add one very old tip. Use the stop button. Because, yes, always use the stop. This is very old, but Gemini is failing, Notebook is failing, all the AI are failing at some point. Just use the stop button, close everything, and just clear your mind. And then if you restart from scratch, it will work. So Stop is a very important tip. It always worked on computers, on devices, on software. The human is in control. Just stop it. Stop the
Yeah.
TV, stop the bad news. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, and I think that part of that is recognizing when you're spending more time using the AI tools than it would take to
There.
do it manually.
That's
I've had that
yeah,
happen
right
for
on.
sure, where it's like I'm fussing and I'm playing, and it's just like if I had just done it myself, it would be
Yes.
done already.
yeah.
Yeah.
We will talk more about this on the 7th of June when the Google educator expert Kim Nielsen, Google Workspace educator, is our guest. And his topic is how admins stay on top of things. And I know that most of his philosophy and experience is to use your own professional critical thinking and time management, then trusting the tools and use all the time the tools when they are productive. So it's a very smooth balance, but it's also a question of a matter of experience. So we will learn a lot. And don't forget to join us on the 7th of June. So if we don't have more questions, we can say goodbye to everyone.
I just wanted to say, Jolyn mentions it's a good idea to find the one, platform that works well for you. So
Right.
that's
Right
good
on.
advice.
Yep. Solid.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Andrew, for being here. And thank you also, Peggy and Bob, for sharing your 5 months of digging into the tech topics and updates and keeping up with those improvements. See you on the 7th of June. Bye.
Have a good day,
Bye-bye.
everybody.